It's Tuesday, March 27th, 2018. I've been struggling with this Webcor Musicale phonograph, or record player. I shouldn't call it a phonograph, it's a record player. A record player that was given to me in 1995. A friend of mine moved to California, and I was helping him pack and throw stuff out and sort things out for his rummage sale. He had this in his basement. I guess it was originally, his family was the original owner of this record player. And he was going to throw it out. He asked me if I wanted it. He says, go ahead and take it if you want it. And of course I did, and I've had it ever since 1995, and I haven't really done much with it. I've done a few things with it before I started making this video. I've had it on the bench for a while and been tinkering with it, but I'll try to go over what I've done. One of the things is I had the turntable off and I lubed it all up, cleaned it with deoxit on a rag or a paper towel to get the grease off. This actually works real well for that, deoxit does. And I used Hammond organ generator oil, which I have many cans of. I worked for Hammond organ many years ago as a technician, and not only as an organist but also as a technician, so I have a lot of Hammond organ oil on hand. So I lubed it up and put it in neutral, and it twirls quite nicely. Also, the idler wheel is in superb condition. No dents, it's not hard, so the idler wheel looks real good. So I'm going to go over a few things on this on the camera here and point out some of the stuff I'm up against. Do I want to resurrect this record player, get it working? And then I ask myself, why? I guess it's because it's here. I took it off the shelf here. I had it on the shelf for a while, and I took it off the shelf because I want to put some more of these parts bins up for parts, and I needed it to come off the shelf so I can put parts bins in there when I get them. So that's why it's come into ending up on my bench. So basically I'm evaluating it. What do I do with it? Do I restore it back to playing condition, or do I throw it out? Here it is with the bottom pulled off. And what a nice power amplifier it has. It's a transformer, not a hot chassis. 2.6 V6s. Push-pull. There's a schematic on the bottom cover, and it's a push-pull circuit. Speaker here, and then there's a little speaker in the front. Now, like I say, I've had the chassis out earlier, and one of the things that was wrong is nothing happened when you turn the power on. No, it was dead. And what was wrong was the power switch was just corroded, and deoxit fixed that completely. I sprayed deoxit in it, and that fixed it right up. So I got the switch working. So the next thing is I have powered this up with the tubes in it. I powered it up with the rectifier out of it at first just to test the turntable out. And the amplifier makes noise. There's electrolytic capacitors in it that they were replacements. Someone else put them in. It had been rebuilt at one time. But there's some old wax paper caps in it and stuff. So basically, the power amplifier needs to be completely restored. That's a given. It doesn't really, I couldn't get any audio from the pickup into the amp. So now I'm going to explore to see about the cartridge in it and what needs to be done, or what I can do with the cartridge if I go ahead with restoring this record player. Okay, here's issue number 1. This is a GE type variable reluctance cartridge, and it's one of those that's designed where you push it and rotate it and you get the 78 stylus in place, or the finer stylus for playing LPs. The stylus, the tip for the 78, I can tell is broken off. That's gone. There is a little bit of a needle there, I think, for the LPs, but it doesn't look, I looked at it closely and it doesn't look very good. So I'm pretty sure that cartridge works, but what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to research and see if I can get some replacement cartridge or styluses for this, or at least a one replacement, probably at the T-bar style. I don't think that one comes apart where each stylus pulls out. But I think that I did a little research on the internet, and I think I can get replacements from England. I'm pretty sure England had them. But I'm going to look again. I've seen some of these on eBay, and eBay prices, I got to tell you, I don't know what's going on with eBay, but the prices are just out of line. They're not just high. They're really high. And I've been following a lot of things that I'm interested in, and they go round and round with relistings and never sell. I can't figure out how eBay can make out doing that when people are asking outlandish prices for stuff. Anyways, getting back to this thing, I'm going to test that stylus out. I'm going to power the turntable out. I have the rectifier tube out of the amplifier, so the amplifier essentially will be dead. But I'm going to power it up and put a record on it and run it through my test amp up there, this one right here, and see if I get anything out of that cartridge. Here's an interesting find in my collection. This is a Reynard made by the Dave Kennedy Recording Studios in Milwaukee. I believe I was in the studio that made the master for this, maybe this very record. The man that owned the Scully lathe and the recording equipment was Emil Soller. He had a lot of interesting stuff, and I think that would have been the origin of this record. But anyways, I'm going to use this record to test. Okay, I've got this thing sort of hooked up, my ground connection here, and if you hear, okay, so that means the cartridge is good. Let me power this thing up now. I don't think it's going to play that stylus, I'm sure, is Shatola, but let's just see what we can do. Put this on 45. Push the button. Oh, turn it on first. Well, I'm sure that crummy sound is the crummy stylus. But it does play. What a terrible sound. Well, the cartridge is good, the stylus is not. Okay, so here's what I have. There are rubber grommets, of course, in the mechanism, especially in the motor mounts and stuff, that would need to be replaced. I already checked them out. They're as hard as a rock. The idler wheel, on the other hand, is superb. I can't believe that idler wheel lived through all these years, because I think this record player's got to be mid-50s, maybe 1957-ish, or mid-50s, considering that it has octal tubes in it. Here's the rectifier again. Considering it has octal tubes, CBS, wow. I would say it was 55 or maybe even a little earlier. I don't know. But they started putting in the smaller tubes in amplifiers for phonographs in the late 50s going into the 60s. So bottom line is here's what I have. I saved this from going to the dumpster in 1995. It's been at my house ever since then. From time to time it resided here, it resided there. It was up on my shelf next to my parts boxes, and I'm going to put more parts boxes up there, so it had to come down. I can rebuild the amplifier no problem. You know, I think 4 electrolytic capacitors, maybe 5 or 6 tubular film capacitors, and maybe some, if I find out of spec resistors, and the amplifier's fixed. I've got a working GE style variable reluctance cartridge. Those are very good cartridges, by the way. And even as bad as the stylus was, you could tell that this thing had the potential to sound pretty good. So I think I can get replacement styluses for it. I think I can get that. But I'll have to check online and see what I can find. I'm certainly not going to try to get something off of eBay. I just can't see paying those kind of prices. That's just out of line. So what do I do with it? Do I throw it out? Or do I start doing something with it and get it playing? Maybe anybody that might be watching one of my videos, my videos are not well watched anymore, but if anybody wants to comment, what's your opinion? Should I throw it out or should I continue with it? I'll put this down as a part 1 video,